What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a film that came out at the tail end of 2023, and this was a movie I was really excited to watch, not only because of the cast, but I thought the premise sounded super interesting. And after reading initial reviews of this movie, I assumed that it was going to be a really unique experience, and I'm very excited to talk about this movie with you today. And the film I'm going to be discussing is All of Us Strangers. All of Us Strangers is directed by Andrew Haigh. One night, screenwriter Adam and his near empty tower block in contemporary London has a chance encounter with his mysterious neighbor Harry that punctures the rhythm of his everyday life. As Adam and Harry get closer, Adam is pulled back to his childhood home where he discovers that his long dead parents are both living and look the same age as they did over 30 years ago. So as I said, I was very excited to watch this movie. Didn't really know much about it other than I saw trailers initially at the theater and read a couple reviews beforehand, but I was really looking forward to this movie. And this movie is absolutely incredible, and I'm honestly really surprised that this did not get more Oscar nominations. It's truly one of the most unique films from last year tonally. It's almost hard to explain, but I'm excited to talk about it with you in detail today. So at the beginning of the film, we're introduced to Adam, played by Andrew Scott, who is living in this new apartment complex where there's not a ton of people living. People are still moving into the apartment complex, and he's a screenwriter, and he's currently trying to work on his newest project. And we see early on he's constantly taking the train somewhere, and he's going to meet his parents, and he talks to his parents, but his parents look suspiciously young, and they have these full conversations together. One night he comes home, goes back to his apartment, he's in there, and the fire alarm goes off, and when he goes out of the apartment, he sees someone up in their apartment waving at him, and that's Harry, played by Paul Mescal. And he ends up coming to Adam's apartment and saying, "Hey, I have this bottle of alcohol. I really don't want to be alone right now. Do you want to hang out? Do you want to spend time together?" And ends up coming on really strong to him in a way that Adam is sort of put off by and doesn't necessarily like want to jump into something like that. And he says, "No, thank you for the offer, but I'm not really interested right now." So he ends up leaving. And through the film, the two of them keep having chance encounters to the point where they finally end up spending some time together and form this relationship. And the two of them start learning more about one another, while at the same time, simultaneously, Adam keeps going back to his old house and talking to his parents, who we quickly find out died 30 years ago. And he's having full conversations with his parents. And so the entire film is we get these scenes where Adam is going back home, having full discussions with his parents, and then he has this relationship with Harry, and we see how the two stories interconnect and learn a little bit more about Adam as a person. So as I said, I absolutely loved this movie, and the first reason I loved this movie is I thought the tone was very unique. Though the way I would describe this movie more than anything is dreamlike. It's very ethereal and strange and atmospheric, and it's almost ominous in moments where there's so much uncertainty as to what's going to happen in the next scene that you're on the edge of your seat the entire runtime of the movie, because you just don't know where it's gonna go. Every single little thing that is revealed to you as an audience member opens up a new opportunity for the story to go in wild directions. And that's something I really respected about the filmmaker, was they took a lot of risks with this movie, and I feel like for the most part they all pay off in a way that's really satisfying. Secondly, I want to talk about the performances. The performances in this are absolutely incredible. I thought Andrew Scott was amazing as the lead. He does so much with his facial expressions in this movie, where he has a lot of moments that he's in solitude with no dialogue, and you get so much about how he's feeling in that moment through his facial expressions. And it was just really impressive. I've seen Andrew Scott in a lot of stuff. Obviously, he was in the Sherlock TV show. A lot of people know him from Fleabag. He's had a very prolific career where he's done a lot of really great stuff. And in this movie, there's absolutely no exception there. I thought Paul Mescal was incredible. Everything I've seen Paul in, I've loved. The Lost Daughter, After Sun, everything that he's been in. I still haven't seen Normal People, but I've heard a lot of great things about it. And he is amazing in this too. I feel like his character, they do a good job diving enough into his character and learning enough about him that the emotional payoff with his character is intense and it's gut-wrenching, and I loved that part of the movie. I also think Jamie Bell and Claire Foy as Adam's parents do a phenomenal job job. There's a lot that they have to do in this movie, and there's a lot involving the really heavy, emotionally poignant moments with their characters. And there's just so many hard-hitting moments. This is a guy whose parents have been gone for almost his entire life. They died when he was like 12 or 13 years old. And he's having conversations about where he's at in his life now. And obviously, he is a gay man, and he's in this relationship with this man, and he's essentially having conversations with his parents about how he is gay, and talking about his sexuality, and talking about his loneliness and his isolation. And they're hard-hitting conversations, and just watching their reactions and how they have to kind of go through it, where they're from a time period that homosexuality wasn't as openly accepted as it is in culture now. And I think there's a lot of hard-hitting moments in the movie that just feel very real. The conversations don't feel Hollywood scripted. They don't feel fake. They feel very relevant to our current society, and that's something I appreciated a lot. I loved the visual style of this movie. The cinematography was incredible. There's a lot of really unique visual sequences, a lot of cool overlays with like someone in the background, and they're just like kind of obscured to another character, like faces overlaid on top of one another that just are symbolically representative of exactly what's going on in that moment. And I love when a filmmaker can utilize the cinematography to pack a really intense emotional punch. And that's exactly what this movie does. And I really love the themes that this film explores, because it really dives into a lot of different things. First and foremost, the idea of isolation and loneliness and fear of rejection, and refusing to get in a relationship because not only are you afraid that that person might reject you, but also that you might lose that person. This is someone who lost both of their parents and has already dealt with an immense amount of loss. And so that fear of getting involved in something else only to lose it shortly after is really difficult. And I think a lot of people can really resonate with that and really attach to that emotionally. Secondly, the conversations surrounding homosexuality. I think it's a really poignant film. There's this really incredible sequence where Adam is talking to his mom about his queerness, and is talking about how it's openly accepted, and how, you know, you can be public about it now and people aren't weird about it. And she asks him the question, like, isn't that lonely? And he's like, no, it's not lonely, like, or at least it's not lonely because I'm gay. And then he sits there and he thinks about it for a moment. And it's really interesting how, you know, in 2024, when you look at homosexuality in our society and how luckily it's perceived in a more positive way, and queer people can exist and they can be in relationships, but we also still have a lot of states that are pushing agendas to make it more difficult for queer people to be in relationships, or for trans people to exist, or just a lot surrounding the LGBTQ community, that despite the acceptance in areas, it can still be incredibly isolating. And I loved the conversations around that because they're incredibly poignant to what is going on in our culture. And then the relationship between our lead character and his parents. Obviously, this is a situation not everyone goes through, losing a parent at that young age, but I think something everyone can connect to is not being the most authentic version of yourself around your parents, and being afraid of rejection, or being afraid of how they will perceive you. And I think a lot of people who still have their parents now probably deal with issues when it comes to being completely transparent and open and honest with the people who are supposed to love you the most, because they're the ones who raised you. And that opened a lot of really interesting questions, and it was really hard hitting to watch. And this movie made me cry multiple times. It's just incredibly emotional and moving, and I did not expect the direction that it was going to go in the third act. There's a lot of twists and turns that will really surprise you. And it's a movie that I don't think everyone will love, but it's a movie that I absolutely adored because it takes a lot of risks. It's saying something incredibly important. And I just love seeing movies like this get made. There's so many films, I feel like, even like movies looking at Oscar nominations this year, that still feel like they're very run of the mill, that they're not taking a whole lot of risks. They're just doing more of the same. And then you get something like this that truly feels unique and special and different. And those are the types of movies that I want to see. And this is just one of the best films from last year. If I was remaking my top 10 list of 2023, this would 100% be in my top 10 films of the year. It's just absolutely incredible, and I cannot praise it enough. So have you seen All of Us Strangers? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was absolutely incredible. I was blown away by it. I didn't really know what to expect, and it surprised me a lot. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.